So we back in the building again with Miss Logic. How you been?
I'm good. How are you?
Nah, I've been alright for the most part. Just looking at this chaotic stuff that has been going on lately in society.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty chaotic. So, seeing that how people is running all over the place, especially the black people, like you see how they're just like right now just kind of out of control with, you know, how they're conducting themselves and stuff like that with these gangs and stuff. Yeah, so let me ask you this question. Okay. Why do African Americans have such a high single parent household statistic?
It's a good question. I think that started back in the 1960s. It was like 23%, I believe, around that time. And then scratch forward to the 80s, where it went up to, I believe, 60s or 70s, and it's kind of teetered around that way. But the reason, I think it started in the 60s, when when black people were intertwined or integrated into society with white people.
Yeah.
And then in the 70s, they took away trade in schools. And then in the 80s was a crack epidemic. So I would say that shot up that in the 80s. And the reason it shot up in the 80s was they took trade out of schools. They inserted drugs into the community, and it was difficult for men to be able to make a living for their families. So they became drug addicts, or they started to sell drugs. Hence, why we're here today with a lot of fatherless households. Now, I will say that because of lack of leadership in the community in the 80s, women have continuously been, you know, the fathers in the household and the mothers in the household, and it creates imbalance. So because there's imbalance now, it's continued, and girls are not making the right decisions when they're picking their mates. Men are not making the right decisions when they're picking their mates, and it causes friction in their relationships, and then it continuously keeps the cycle going.
That's a very interesting point. That's very, very interesting. So then let me ask you this. So is it true statistically that African Americans, black fathers, are the most involved in their children's life?
They are. They definitely are. Compared to a lot of different households.
But why do they make it seem like they're not, though?
Society makes it seem like black men ain't shit, period. And that's just the way that they want to. I mean, think about it. If you were trying to keep a community down, just like, okay, I'll say it like this. When captors come over and they take over a group of people, they usually kill all the men first. Well, that's what they're doing right now. They're killing men inside and not physically. And that's, you know, with shooting them down. I mean, not physically shooting them down, but talking down about them, trying to create every type of stereotype that there is. And that's really not the case. I've seen more active black men in my lifetime being active fathers than ever before. I mean, than what they say.
Yeah, because I was looking up statistics and things, and what people were saying from what the statistics show is completely different, because the statistics shows that they're more active, but when people say things, because they go by what people say, so they just want to believe what somebody here says instead of actually looking it up. Yeah, which is crazy. Why do 65% of African Americans as of 2018 grow up in a single parent household?
I think there's a lot of factors behind that. I think that it started in the 80s, but it's continued because it's been females raising men and women. And I think that females, they have women, I'm going to say females, because ain't no real woman out here talking about, oh, men ain't shit. So I think that a lot of females are around here talking about, you know, men ain't shit or whatever. And they push a lot of men away. And because the court system is favorable to women, then yeah, you're gonna be raised with your mother most of the time.
So then, what can we do to improve the dynamic of almost 9 out of 10 black mothers giving birth out of wedlock and raising children as single mothers?
You need male leadership in the black community.
Okay.
There needs to be male leadership. There needs to be that logical thinker.
Okay.
And I think that we lack that. So we give all these women praise because they're single mothers, but they ain't doing a bang up job because look at the fucking community. Like, it's not, it's getting worse by the day.
So do you think black men are actually abandoning their kids?
No, I don't. I think that it's women that try to pull them away from their kids and give. You know what? If you are a black baby daddy, I commend you because I see what some of these men deal with, and it's ridiculous.